We're going to actually continue with that line of thinking because, exactly to Buzz's point, May 30th, 2012, yesterday, I'm going to read the opening line of an article that was released by Jason Richwine, Senior Policy Analyst at the Heritage Foundation. I'm just going to read his opening line, and that's it. In the contentious national debate over public pension cost, Wisconsin is ground zero. Okay? This is the opening line. Yet, few taxpayers know how much money they are paying for the state's public pension program. This is the Heritage Foundation. This is how the attacks occur on our public pension program, by trying to convince taxpayers that we somehow, number one, are soaking up all this money, and secondarily, as I began about a half hour ago, saying, well, furthermore, these people haven't earned it either. Well, actually, as I said at the opening, we sat down and bargained this. The state agreed to it. We agreed to it because, at least in those days, there was an honest appreciation for the value of something that meant something to both sides. If I could have a stable workforce who really would trade some wages for a good pension system, why wouldn't, if I'm a good employer, why wouldn't I say, you know what, that's not a bad deal. I'm going to make my workers happy. I end up maybe at about the same level for money, and they're happy, and I'm pretty happy too because I got good workers, and they're going to stay here a long time. So that's where you'd like to be, but that's not where we are. In this article that came out of the Heritage Foundation, that also Buzz alluded to, the Milwaukee State Journal ran a kind of a quasi-related story on yesterday, gives you a sense of how these attacks are going to keep coming, and here's the reason. Now I'm going to switch to some real things that are going on in the state that some of you may have heard about, and if you want to follow with me, it's in that opening handout where the first page talks about debunking the myths. So if you want to find that one, just quickly follow along with me for the next few minutes. I'll give you the current update on these next topics. So if you flip that first page over, go to the next page, that's our second Powers publication. And the title is, Make No Mistake, your retirement system is under assault. Now is the time to defend it. So if you skip down to about halfway or a bit more there, I'm going to go over a couple things that give life to what Buzz just said and what I just said, how these attacks spread out of the think tanks, Republican think tanks, whether it be the Heritage Foundation, MacGyver, Bradley Foundation, Club for Growth. They all have the same net goal. Let's get public pension programs into the private sector vis-a-vis 401k style approaches. Well, how is it occurring in Wisconsin? Well, here's the first answer. Last year in Act 32, the budget bill, the Walker administration, with obviously help from the Joint Finance Committee, inserted a provision to require the ETF and the state to do a study of two major provisions affecting the Wisconsin retirement system. The first one is, should we have a defined contribution option? So they are studying that right now, and within the next about 30 days, that study will be released by the end of June, of course after the recall election. So we won't know what it says, but we already have conjecture what it's going to say. And the second provision is opt-out. Should we allow employees to opt out of the Wisconsin retirement system? How many of you have heard about that study? A number of you? Looks like you know, a lot have. So here's where that study is. ETF has largely, Buzz and I were at a conference about 2 weeks ago, sponsored by the Coalition of Annuitants, and we heard the current update, which is that the ETF has completed their internal review and work on their portion of the study. And you could rest assured that Bob Conklin, the new ETF director, gave a pretty heartwarming rendition of the fact that this program is working well, leave it alone. Unfortunately, it's not just the ETF that gets a chance to take that study, that initial study, and review it. Guess who gets it next? DOA and OSER, Office of State Employment Relations, and the Department of Administration. So that study will go to those two agencies, and that's where the politics start inside of our current government. So they're going to look at what ETF said, and maybe they already knew what ETF was going to say. Then they're going to start going, well, I don't know about this, I don't know about that. Well, yeah, it's working well, but that point here they made about future actuarial needs and the fact, well, we had an awful lot of state retirements last year, strangely enough. Maybe the system's not as healthy as it should be. Maybe maybe we should even allow opt-out. Maybe we should let future employees decide if they want to be in the system or not in the system. So what'll happen then politically inside DOA and OSER over the next 3 to 4 weeks, first of all, they're going to watch what happens on Tuesday. Tuesday is the big day for the Wisconsin retirement system, make no mistake. Because if Walker's, I'm going to be honest, if Walker's defeated, you know what, game off. If Walker is not defeated, game on. And they get to do their stuff, complete a report for the rest of June, release it to Walker and the Joint Finance Committee, because the other thing that Buzz and I are very alert to is the fact that normally a study that involves the retirement system goes to a special joint committee of the legislature. Well, guess what? They're not doing that this time. It's going to Walker and it's going to the Joint Finance Committee by language in Act 32 from last summer. So they get to look at it first. Now, it's going to be a public document. Well, we're all going to know what that says probably by the last day of the month or the very first week of July. And so, depending upon the results of Tuesday's election, what I'm going to tell you now is what I think we're going to end with anyway, is that we have to stay mobilized and together to take on the ultimate attack on the Wisconsin retirement system. Kind of no matter what happens on Tuesday next week, although one result is better than another, the outside forces that want to see this system devolved or weakened are still going to be there. The Heritage Foundation, the Club for Growth, the Koch brothers, Paul Ryan, all those people who hate big public things are still going to hate big public things. And they're still going to want to attack us, but without their friends in our Wisconsin state capitol, they won't have quite an easy of a chance to do it. So be alert to the politics next Tuesday. That's why they're important. And the study that's due late June is going to be a big driver then what happens to our system and our need to stay all connected together. So our group Powers that Buzz and I work with, we already know this. We're trying to stay on top of it. And there's going to be an awful lot of press conferences in late June, early July, by groups that care about the Wisconsin retirement system. And if you do here in this room, we surely want to make sure that you sign up on a sign-up sheet so we can keep you abreast of all the late-breaking news, because this is something that benefits the state, our communities, and our families. We cannot let this devolve and go away. We have to stand up and defend it, quite honestly. This is a time to be counted for. There's a time to sit, and there's a time to stand. This is a time to stand. But, so that's the one big thing I'll mention, the Act 32. Well, there was a certain legislator who said, you know what, I'm pretty impatient. I can't wait till next summer. I want to do something right now. That person was Pat Strakota, a Republican ALEC member. How many of you know ALEC? All right, good for you. And ALEC, bless their hearts, they're so smart. They just happen to have produced a piece of legislation in their packet called Public Employees Portable Retirement Option Act. I have it right here. Well, guess who also had a copy of this in her portfolio? Pat Strakota. And she said, well, let's try it now. So on January this past year, she put together AB 539, which said, why don't we let University of Wisconsin employees opt out right now? Why wait till summer? If it's such a good thing, let's start it now. So she took that model bill right here that I have in front of me, changed the language. I think she probably took, whatever allows you to put the word state in, you put Wisconsin in, or name the Wisconsin retirement system. So she just tweaked this thing here for Wisconsin, introduced it. She got a whole bunch, well, not a whole bunch, she got maybe 8 or 10 sponsors in the Assembly, but the Senate said, we're not going to get involved. We got the mining bill. We got some other big things on the agenda. The senators, including my own Luther Olson, who 12 of us or 14 of us went and visited. I got him to sit back there in his chair and his big kind of paunch, and, oh, why would I want to do that, Roger? It's my system too. I said, that's right, Luther, why would you want to do that? I said, that's exactly the answer I want to hear from you. So we got him on record saying, I don't want to do that, I'm not going to sign, because he obviously knew about this bill. And he said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, well, good, Luther, that's a great answer. But I'm going to myself, I don't trust you. Because his wife is in the system too, by the way. So legislators are in the system. So rest assured that whenever they tinker with this stuff, they're not going to tinker with it that's going to affect them because they're already in the system. They will tinker with it in some way for anyone who comes after them. So that's important for what Buzz and I are going to get to right at the end here. So that's something I wanted you to know about is that. And so AB 539 was there. And the other things I'll point out to you are this, that our retirement system can be tinkered with and damaged in many ways. One of the more disgusting things that happened, and how many of you are teachers in here? Or work with, okay. Well, I don't have to tell you about the ERC's ruling on base pay and that nonsense, but that attack on public teachers was disgusting in itself, not only because of the effect on the public teachers and their families and their income, but it also, I mean, these things all add up. This is kind of it's kind of like you keep, somebody can hold 20 pounds, all right, put on 5 more pounds, put on 5 more pounds. It's like pretty soon they just got to drop everything. Well, that's kind of what's going on now. So they added this other 5-pound weight to the load that the system already is getting, which was the fact that when a teacher or any professional loses that kind of pay, and the pay is based on a matching contribution of 5.8%, if their pay goes down that much, guess what? Their contributions into the retirement system also drop. So you start adding more employees, 12,000 more people retired more than normal last year. So you get all these extra retirees into the system now. You got fewer state employees in the system working. Then you take base pay away from our teachers, who surely did not deserve that kind of attack. And then what happens? The system starts to erode from within. And that's what's going on, folks. This is very kind of sinister, it's very manipulative, and so they don't really, I mean, they could go after the big kahuna here and this Act 32 stuff, the study in late January, but they've already added enough starting kind of uncertainty into the system that is starting to, it's not teetering, I mean, because the system knows how to fix itself and it was designed that way, but all these things do add up and they do make a difference. And so that's what I want you to appreciate and understand as a function of our discussion tonight.